Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have rock band Wine and Spirit.
Hello, guys. We are Wine and Spirit. My name is Paul Joseph.
Hey, Randy.
Hey, Randy.
The sky's falling when the rain comes. A rose of blossom, fire dries and gone. A picture frame's never stapled on to any wall or written down in a song. Oh, don't you start without me. Don't you start with me. Oh, don't you start without me. Don't you start with me.
Can you introduce yourselves and what instrument you play?
I'm Adam Parrott. I play the drums in Wine and Spirit, amongst other random percussion instruments I pick up along the way.
I'm Derek Ruby. I'm the bass player.
How did you guys get into music? What age?
Personally, my family was musical. My parents both always had music playing. My dad was big into the blues and honestly 80s hair bands. Um, my brothers and I all played in high school band, marching band and stuff. That's where Paul and I got real close in the marching band. And yeah, pretty much my whole life, just music's always been around.
I started playing guitar when I was 14, 15, something like that, and then moved into drums pretty quick after that and played around town until I went to college. I went to college for music, so started doing more percussion, jazz, rock, all that kind of stuff, orchestral, various world music ensembles they had at the college. And I lived in Charleston, South Carolina, and played with a touring blues band down there. And that's where I kind of got the working musician bug. And I've been doing some incarnation of it ever since. And I moved back up here roughly 8 years ago, and I've been in Wine and Spirit for 5 or 6 years, something along those lines.
What got me into music, since I was a kid, my parents went to a lot of concerts in the '80s and stuff when we were like babies and stuff, and then they always like recorded like pay-per-view specials from like the Who, the Rolling Stones, and whatnot. So like when we first were just learning how to work a VCR, we used to just watch those, and then MTV music videos at the time, Rock the Carry of Love or something like that. What the hell? Billy Idol, dude. Creative Love, dude. Good tune. That's like one of the very first music videos I've ever remembered. All right. And so like that, and then we in elementary, I had my first pair of drumsticks at 5th grade, and then was in did percussion throughout high school, snare captain and drumline, and then I joined Slippery Rock University drumline for 2 years. And that's where I met like the majority of musicians that we're actually working with today, and doing their own respected things in music too, which is so awesome. But then, me and Derek, we started a punk band in high school called The Squares, another Bleeding Heart, Van Skem. We had weird, you remember that? Yeah, we had like matching names for that or something, but we ended up with The Squares, towards the end of like our senior year, freshman year. And then I don't know, you saw a Bon Jovi concert and you were like, hey man, you should try like being a front man and stuff. So I remember that. And then, so like, we just end up doing that. But like, music's always been part of my life. When me and Derek collectively did like jazz band, concert bands and stuff like that in high school, and even doing like stuff for like musicals and stuff, being in the orchestra, everywhere. I don't know. I think we've kind of like, covered a lot of angles with music and stuff and experienced them in different ways, but we've always come back to wanting to be a rock band. And so, yeah, it's always been around.
Can you tell me some of your musical influences? Adam, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have always been open to every genre of music in some capacity. But as far as the stuff I gravitated towards, it was all early on, especially, it was really that classic rock vein. The great drummer bands, the Zeppelin, the Who, and lately, over the last few years, more I've gotten into singer-songwriters, or in, like, that capacity of it. A lot of British bands, especially. So digging back into the Stones and Beatles and that kind of stuff. But like Oasis and just those classic pop bands that were influenced by, or rock bands that were really influenced by pop music, like guys that really know how to play but can still write a song. Like they're not just noodling. There's something musical in what they're doing, and there's a purpose for each song, and it's memorable. That's kind of it for me.
Derek?
I mean, growing up, my dad was rolling the blues and 70s, 80s music. We grew up. Stevie Ray Vaughan was huge in the house. And like Paul had said, we played in the jazz band, so I did a lot of jazz, especially as a bass player. Charlie Mingus and Ray Brown. Miles Davis was huge. I listened to Kind of Blue probably more than any other album ever. Um, the classic stuff like that. Of course, rock and roll. My dad also was huge Led Zeppelin fan. I knew Led Zeppelin's whole catalog before I was in junior high. And then especially after starting to play with Paul, he's probably the biggest Stones fan you'll ever meet. So, Stones are huge. And then in high school, really into punk music. If I had to pick one band that is my all-time favorite, Rancid. Again, wicked bass player. Fast music, my spirit tends to get loud, sometimes fast, but that definitely inspires the loudness of our stage for sure. The punk music, Paul and I playing a punk band. And lately I've just kind of been letting Spotify dictate, recommending stuff to me. I've been all over the place. Getting into that alt rock lately just because it's fun, different, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd say blues and jazz and punk and rock and roll, really. Yeah.
Okay. Paul?
Oh, man. I mean, Derek kind of said it for you. The Rolling Stones, no doubt about it. I've been a Stones fan since I was a baby, no doubt, as I mentioned in the videos earlier. But Derek mentioned like Rancid and stuff. And, when we got into high school, I was always into classic rock, no doubt about it. But Derek, there was a group of kids and stuff got into the punk rock, and he got me into punk rock. But, I loved Rancid and like Offspring and whatnot. But the band, the ultimate band that I was just like blown away was The Living End out of Melbourne, Australia. Probably one of the best three-piece band you can see live on stage anywhere, anytime. They're just hands down awesome. And we have been so blessed in a way of every time we got to see them, we got to meet them. And it wasn't until 2016 when they finally came back around again for the first time in like 10 years, we had the opportunity to open up for them. And so instead of being like a fangirl of like, we love your music, blah, 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 it turned out to be like musician on musician talking about, hey, it was a great set. It was a great set, and like the guitar tones and like this, oh man, like the whole access, I can go on and on, but it was so surreal because we've known them for so long, listened to them, and a lot of the early Wine and Spirit songs, even some today have that Living End attack with the bridge and chorus and jam in the middle bridges and stuff like that. Especially like you hear like Shenanigans on the new record, or we're just doing something like Dying Town, just going all over the place. That's how they were, especially on a live stage. And that's where I feel like a lot of influence came from there. Us as a band, we always wanted to be up there full of energy. I don't care if there's 12 people, a packed house, 150, 200, you name it. We're going to give you a great show, and we just leave it on stage and all the time, but Living End is definitely up there. And, but yeah, I mean, it's a mix. It's a good mix. Like even with TJ too, like, he's in the Allman Brothers, Derek and the Dominoes, influence and stuff. So, and you hear it a lot, respectively between the musicians that are on the record as well, and you can just hear it where they're coming from and stuff. And it's really neat because, especially with this record, you can definitely hear each and like everyone's instrument. And it's like everyone did great on this one.
Can you tell me how the band formed?
Okay, so we got done with our punk band. We played one last show at the VFW in Ellwood City in the spring of 2006. And then Derek was about to move to Pittsburgh, and we were at his house on Line Avenue, and it was like an empty house and stuff like that. And he just started playing away on the bass, and I just started chumming a few words. And then it was just like one of those things, like walking out of the house, it was like, hey, we're onto something here. So, we met up down at your mom's house, Derek. It was like in June 2006. We started writing, we wrote the song They'll Never Know, which we still play to this day. It's one of the very first songs, They'll Never Know. And it was like that, a couple other songs like Valentine's Day or something like that. How Long was it? And we went on to a grocery store run and stuff. And, we're at Camp Horn Road in Pittsburgh. And we're like thinking of names and stuff. It's like, oh, we got two guys with acoustic guitars. So why don't we call ourselves like Simon and Garfunkel kind of deal, like Jack's Cool, and swear to God, I swear to God. And so then we can't, we were in the parking lot. There was Giant Eagle and the wines and spirits stores was right there. It's like we were all just kind of like chilling out, looking at it. It's like smoking a cigarette, and it's like Wine and Spirit, And so I'd be Paul Wine, Derek would be Derek Spirit. And we went with this, dude. So our first gig was at an open mic night in college, a sophomore year, down the basement of the student union. And we had one of the Professor Simon Beeching, who's an excellent slide guitar player, who ended up doing work with us down the road. First met us and like, yeah, we're Wine Spirit. We got a couple songs. It's like, okay, I'll be done and I'll introduce you guys. And it was so surreal because this was the first time we're like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Wine and Spirit coming to the stage. And it was so weird, man. It was like, oh, wow, okay, we're doing this. And so we did it. And then we did another open mic night at Pitt University. We did it there. And that's where we met the guitar player, Chris Taylor, at the time, Derek's roommate. And, of course, on the drum line, our drummer, Scott Morrison, we were in the marching band together. So we got to a point where we're doing this duo thing. If you want a crazy story, we had this girl that told us that she knew Blink-182, Panic at the Disco and stuff like that. Convinced us like, oh, I can get you guys to open up for them, be on tour and all that jazz. It's like, oh man, all right. Hey, I know a drummer. I called Derek. It's like, hey, I know a guitar player. And we called, and then like a week later, we met up at Slippery Rock. So this was November 11th, 2006. We're in our dorm room, and the very first song we played as a band was They'll Never Know. And we knew right then and there, this was a cool, special band, and then we rolled with it. And so throughout the late 2000s, Derek and I were on the WSRU 88.1 FM, Slippery Rock, WSRU, Go Rock, Voice of the Rock. And we recorded a couple of the songs like Spider's Trap, They'll Never Know. And we played it on the radio, and that song got around. We ended up doing like the radio festival We did like the campus festivals, and man, we were getting exposure. We were getting it picked up, and then we graduated, everybody respectively, and we thought, well, why don't we try to keep this band going? So we started hitting up the city more and stuff, and then things just went went that way. We just kept on playing, and then we had our opportunity in 2012 where it all paid off, where we won the Winter Rock Showcase at the Hard Rock Cafe for WXDX 105.9 FM of Pittsburgh. It was a surreal experience, but it gave us our first break in making our first album, Against All Odds.
Yeah, and you go back even further, Paul and I mentioned, we played in high school and stuff, so we had played in one way or another in a few different bands together, mostly, me on bass and Paul playing drums, and we had actually, to pay tribute to the living end, we were in a 3-piece and had our buddy Jameson, who was singing and playing guitar, Paul on drums, and I was playing the upright bass.
Yeah, March 19th, 2004. It was a Friday night. It was a great gig. Dude, these dates stick around, man. It's awesome because that was a very surreal moment. Because I think what Derek mentioned, like that was a time where we knew we wanted to be in the band because you just heard the crowd reaction. We had the student body behind us that was rooting for us, and it was like, wow, man. We were playing like songs like That Thing You Do. I literally put shades on, dude, and started going, dun, 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 dun. I swear, man, it was a good time, man. We loved being able to play, our dreams as a kid, and still chase that like we are kids still chasing that dream,
Yeah, because I think that was the first time that we played as like a rock band, that we had a crowd, I mean, it was at the high school auditorium, but it was full, and, hearing the crowd and playing and getting a good response, and, just kind of like looking at each other like, hey, man, we're not so bad at this, So I think that Paul and I, and then, when we went off to college, we actually went to separate schools at first, and it wasn't until after freshman year that Paul and I started writing again, and formed the name Wine Spirit. And it was, like you said, 2 acoustic guitars, him starting to sing, me with 2 extra strings, but we were writing, and that's what was important. We were writing more than ever, and I think that's really when Paul started to get his creativity and let his voice actually form and stuff. So that was an important moment. I think that now he's not just hitting the drums; he's out front, and it's hey, it's time to write some shit down, dude. Get it out. Which I think, or now that's really like the birth of Wine and Spirit, in my opinion, right there. And then we had some name change or some face changes. Adam joined the band. Paul might know the exact date and time and minute, but
our first gig with him was in April 2016 at the Paramount Cafe in Wampum. The Water in the Hole it's our hidden gem place, man.
Or 2016? Yeah, that was the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, I like the origin story of that too. Like it was, I don't know, maybe a month before I was at a Jason Isbell show with TJ, and he ran into, I think it was the Highland Brothers, and he's like, "Oh, this guy just moved to town. He's really good at drums. You should pick him up, and he should be in your band." And we're like, "Oh, cool." And then TJ called me the next day. He's like, "Yeah, don't call those guys. You come be in my band." Yeah, that worked out a lot better.
yeah, and that's why we practiced once, if we even practiced once together.
Ooh, before that, yeah, I think once. Yeah, I remember learned a lot of songs in a short amount of time, but it was fun. From the first day, it was fun. From the first practice, like I knew it was going to be a blast, and it always has been.
Yeah, and not to be weird, but as a bass player, you got to connect with the drummer, and I played with plenty of drummers. Paul and I always connect back in the day. My brother was a drummer; we always connected. And then our first drummer, Scotty, him and I were good together after some time, because we worked really hard together, and we got to a point that we clicked immediately. But when Adam joined the band, I mean, it was like day one. I mean, this is as a nerdy rhythm section thing, Day one, we started playing, and I was like, yeah, I can feel this guy right now. It just fit and it worked. And
Man, if I may add it, I ain't trying to sugarcoat and fill these two heads with what I'm about to say. It's probably, these guys meshed in probably one of the best rhythm sections of Western PA, if not more. Derek and Adam do a wonderful job. You can clearly hear it in the album, and couldn't be prouder than them, for working hard and being musicians and stuff that we are. Adam, when you joined in, man, we had this experience of like, okay, we're in a band. Here's, band, and try to go a little bit more professional with it. And our approach, and every year we learn, we keep our minds open. But when Adam came in, we had that taste right off the bat where it's like, okay, we got one rehearsal. We're going to do what we can, work on it, and do our homework and stuff. And, Adam, he's done his homework. He's always persistent. He's always consistent, with his practice and his work ethic, and it clearly shows, especially on the past couple records. But but it was like a less, something that he brought to the table that we never experienced before was that professionalism.
Thanks, buddy. You guys are pros. What are you talking about? You guys are all pros. You guys are all better the next time. We were talking about that the other day. It just like after a while, I mean, you're always trying to entertain the audience, but the audience is kind of always new. So the audience will believe your old tricks, and they'll kind of give you the benefit of the doubt because they came out to have a few drinks and have fun. But the hard critics are your bandmates, and that's who I'm always trying to play better than the last time I saw them, and really see if I can dig into what it is they're playing and try to make something more out of it. And everybody puts in their 2 cents and gets out $10.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're kind of right there, Adam. It's like we always try to just like come to the table and just show off our talent, and because our best audience is our bandmates, our buddies right here. It's like these are the guys I show a song to, instead of anyone else. It's like I need you to show, and even when we're in the studio, man, it's like we're all in the room, and the guy's out there about to lay down his track. He wants to like show off, and it's like, so we always bring that mentality of just like, all right, well, listen to this, it's like be excited about it and stuff, man.
Hold my beer, check this shit out. It is that for months on end. Yeah. It's the best. Those were the best Saturdays, man. That like 2 years of making the last record, every Saturday was like that. Just like, let's go for it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you had more questions, Randy.
Walk around trying to think, what the hell did I go through? I've seen troubled times and it's spilling on to you. 'Cause everywhere you step inside, you're in for the fight, you're in for the fight. Locking down and burn the days and try to carry on. Who knows even who to believe, been damn for right or wrong. 'Cause everywhere you step inside, you're in for the fight, you're in for the night. So come on in, take a step inside. You're gonna be mine, all mine. Who knows what you're gonna believe? I can't tell you what you mean to me. Middle of nowhere, you can find me. Lost out in my mind.
What city are you guys based out of?
Ellwood City.
yeah, Ellwood City. I mean, you can say Pittsburgh, you can say Ellwood City, you can say Western PA.
Eastern Ohio. Yeah, like it all depends. I mean, yeah, we live all within a 30-minute drive of each other, but as far as like a hometown, it's interesting because we're close to like I'm almost as close to Youngstown, and we've played a ton with a lot of Youngstown bands and Cleveland bands and Pittsburgh bands. So we don't even look at it like, I mean, music's changed so much. There is definitely a scene in all the surrounding cities in some capacity, but we've always tried to make our own scene and never be like, we don't have any rivals. We try to just pick up any fans where we can and meet everybody where we can.
let's put it this way: if we're playing in Pittsburgh, we'll say we're from Ellwood City. If we're playing in town, we'll say we're from Western PA. If we're playing in Chicago, we'll say we're from Pittsburgh.
You guys just released Smiley Street June 10th. What kind of feedback have you heard since you released that album?
Oh man, we've been getting excellent feedback. I think the best part of this, technology and stuff, we were able to like share people's reactions. Like we've heard from like people we've never heard from before, or we've never heard in a long time, and they are just like texting us this like novel review and stuff, and it was just so cool to hear that they are acknowledging that they just listened to the album and stuff. And we're just so tickled. And I was able to like share them on the Instagram stories, just so like, hey, it's out. People are talking about it. And it was so cool to do that now these days, just to share out like the excitement and stuff. And then once people saw that, it's like, you know what, I'm going to go listen to it. And then more people came in the next day, just like texting their feedback or sending us the message and stuff. So we knew the word was getting out. And so it's awesome to hear the feedback. And it's also a great mile marker, I think, how people look at it, because this is our 15th year as a band, and being able to do this on this kind of a mile marker of a year in our career is something spectacular, and it's now we have like all the songs uploaded everywhere on Spotify and wherever you get your music and stuff. So it's really exciting because people are listening to it and the new fans are listening to it, but they're also getting a dose of our older songs. And once again, like, songs like Spider's Trap, They'll Never Know, keeps like creeping through, never ages, it's just, it's awesome when we still play those songs live, and we're playing those songs like 15 years. And now we get to play like songs like off our new album on top of that. And it's just like, we got ourselves a nice an hour and a half show here, guys.
I wanted to dig into some of your songs here. You have Don't You Start, and there's like a strumming acoustic guitar, and there's like little guitar accents and saxophone in it. Can you tell me a little bit more about that song?
Wow, I'm glad you started with that song, because that song we've had in our pocket since 2014. And I forget. Yeah. So, oh man, I don't know what songs we were listening to at the time, but I had my acoustic guitar on Capel 4, and I started going back and forth on 2 chords that you mostly hear on the album, or on that song, and with the bridge and stuff, and was able to figure out some lyrics to it, which I'm very proud of the lyrics, because at that time, I'm like, oh man, I really love how these lyrics turned out. And we played it a few times with Scott on drums, and but it never really was like, wasn't there yet. There was like something missing. And then Adam came aboard, and it's like, listen to this song. And it's like, because we were trying to record it when Scott was on his way out, and it was just like not a good take. And it's like, we're missing something. Adam came in, he loved hearing it, and we were still trying to. And this was 2016 now, and we were already playing it live, and people are already saying, hey, that's a good song. And it's like, we know. And it's like, how to capture it. No, it's just so weird, because it's like we know we were proud of this song. It was just a matter of time and when. And then eventually, Adam, found ways of getting hold of the right musicians, the right studio, and we just knew that this song was ready for this record, and we were ready to, tackle it. And man, it turned out so well, because we knew, like, at the time we weren't even thinking about sax player in a sax solo. It was a lot of like just TJ playing solo, and that's what we were going to stick with. But then when we just had, you just kind of sit back and see what tools that we had with the studio. Adam just started making some calls and connections, and dude, we're very happy with that song. Very, very proud how it turned out and stuff.
I think the first time we actually played that live, we were actually on the road on the way to. We were in Michigan.
Oh, in Eagle Monk, East Lansing. That's October 2014.
Scott actually had a cajon, one of those little box drums that they sat on. and it kind of gave like a train for like a chugga 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 chugga, you know. So to me, that song always had that like mellow, almost like Western, just chugging on the train kind of thing. Um, and I think it's still embodies that a little bit, but at this point now, it's like I don't know. That's a song I want to put in movies and stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And it's like I think when we were starting to play with like Susto too, they had a couple tunes that almost kind of like that, and I think it was like I think that's what triggered us, saying like that's the approach, that's what we want, that's what that song should sound like, just being traveling along, and we knew what we wanted to record. It was just a matter of time, and when to do it, and who we had on board.
Start without me. Don't you start with me. Oh, don't you start without me. Don't you start with me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The next song is Shenanigans, and it got like a kind of like the Cars kind of feel to it, like just what I needed with that verse.
Thank you. I like hearing that. That's great. Me and Adam were talking about that when we were trying to figure out lyrics that one night at your house, man. Like we just knew, like, yeah, the Clarks vibe, or yeah, and the Cars or the Clarks, whatever. Shenanigans, once again, just like Don't You Start. Dude, this thing was completely different when we were figuring this out in 2014. Again, we were actually touring in Philadelphia for the first time, and we had a couple shows out there, and we had a really good we were inspired by what was out there, the music scene and stuff. And, on the way back, we were like making up lyrics like my dreams were in Philadelphia. And for the longest time, we were sticking to that, this whole like lyrics and everything like that. We stuck it out with Scott on drums, and then just nothing. It's like, once again, something's missing. And then Adam coming in. We were trying to solve this out until we just, one day just erased everything off the board, and then just like just sped it up the tempo and stuff, and then had the Cars feel, yeah. And then, I had a couple lyrics scratched off and went to Adam's house to like trying to finish out the lines. And then we've had that song for a while. It took us so that was like a year before we even recorded that song. We had the lyrics and everything set, and then we just started playing that song every chance that we could live, and just got it just gotten better over time. And then once again, just waiting for that right time, right moment.
You called me off, at least you tried. You made it sound like your phone was dying. You took a chance, we did the dance. You sent me off in an ambulance. So what excuse you had to choose? You're keeping me from loving you. Stuck in some traffic, too late to meet. I almost died again this week.
Another song is Middle of Nowhere, and there's like an organ and kind of like droning guitar in it, and the lead fills are very catchy.
Yeah, Paul, that's you playing slide, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm playing slide on that. Yeah, through a Paul Reese Smith, man, and that was really cool experience, you know, because like that's something I always want to try to play more is slide guitar and stuff, and being able to like pull that off, you know, in the studio and at any given time is always cool, and just hearing that, and did it a couple takes, and then one time I didn't like it, and it was like the last day of recording. So like, let me do that slide one more time, because I just gotten better playing it, and it's like, oh, this is a better take and stuff, and that's what you hear now. It's like the last day of recording, did the slide and stuff, and you know, and that song that actually was kind of I started writing that like right before the pandemic, and you know, we were doing like a different small project called PJ Rail and the Western Spirit. And because we couldn't like, you know, market wine spirit so much, you know, like it's gotten to a point where it's getting onto bigger stages down in the city. And, you know, and it was really tough to like keep on playing. And so what we wanted to do was like, we wanted to play still, but we couldn't market our band like that and play in small pubs. So made up the name. And then, but like, you know, pandemic hit, and it's like, we're going to write these songs, and then whatever gig that we could find, we just tried them out, and we were just under disguise, this whole like PJ Road in the Western Spirit. Here's a brand new, like, here's a set list of new songs that we had. And it like Middle of Nowhere was one of them on there and stuff. And I'm pretty sure, what else was on there? Oh, I have it right here. Oh, Dying Town was one of them too.
And you went out like kind of in disguise and played these songs to try them out to see which crowd reaction, kind of.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. You know, because like for wine and spirit's sake, you know, there's certain songs that we got to play. You know, because like the fans that come and see us know those songs and stuff like that. So you can't really stuff the set list with a lot of new songs. You know, because people are just going to be like, oh, I like it, but I want to hear that song and stuff, you know. So we just figured out a way, you know, with like a lot of major concerts and a lot of major venues weren't open, but like these small places were slowly trying to open, and we were trying to like keep, you know, somewhat of our jobs and playing as musicians and stuff, and being able to safely do it. And so we just had a slew of new songs, and we just went under that new alias, PJ Rillo and the Western Spirit, and just started playing these new songs. It's like, you know, it's not us, Wine Spirit. We're just doing something else, you know, all that jazz. And yeah, that's how we were just like, you know, this song works. Okay, that song works, you know. So, and then it just kind of kept it in our pocket, you know. And then the rest of the songs that didn't make it, they're still there, you know. And so that's a whole different story.
I figured it took a while to write and record this album, and you did say some of the songs have been around for a long time. Did you want to make this album like perfect?
With this one specifically, like if you look at all the records, I mean, I don't know how long Against All Odds took. I think 4 or 5 sessions or something like that. It wasn't super long. And then Animal was 3 days start to finish. So we had all songs in. With this one, it was we had played almost all of the songs live, and we even cut a couple tunes from this latest record. So from start to finish, it was probably 2 years from when we actually did the first recordings in the first studio, and then added musicians, added overdubs, changed lyrics, changed solos, added everything we could get our hands on. And then towards the end, we booked the final or the like CD release show, thinking like, oh man, it will never even be close to that. We'll be done for months. And it was like, I don't know, like as long as you can possibly be, or like the shortest amount of time that you can possibly be done before the show and still have everything work smoothly and nothing really blow up. That's when we finished. Like we were literally writing middle of nowhere lyrics in the studio that last day, and then it was recorded and it was done, and that was it. And it like the discs, not that have the people that listen to discs anymore, but we got them for ourselves just so we could have them, and to have people be able to get them at the show was important. And I was glad to see the people that bought them have them in their hand. They came in 2 days before we got done. So I always think of the quote that an album's never done, it just comes out. And that's I don't think that's true for this record. I think it was done. Like I had nothing left on my list. Nobody else did. We were all strapped for ideas. Some of us more than others. Like I was in there, 100 times trying to add everything I could possibly get my hands on. Derek just came and knocked all his shit out in one day, and he was like, "All right, guys, if you need me, I'll be in the car." It was like everybody had a different approach to it, and I think everybody got exactly what they wanted on it. All the guys that were guests we're happy to be on the record and can't wait to play again. That sax solo that Tim Harker did, that was the first take. He tried again. We're like, the first one's better. I think we're done. Like we were just spoiled with how good all the players are, all the people that came in, and a lot of them wrote a lot of their own parts and did it quick and were super collaborative. It's like there wasn't anything you couldn't tell anybody on any level. Any of the engineers, everybody worked extra hours, was great about, doing whatever it took to accommodate. Like that Middle of Nowhere is a great example too, because that's Rick Deek from the Vindies. That's his Duesenberg that TJ's playing on that record. That's Clay Cawley from Black Wolf and the Thief playing the organ at Peppermint, which is where we recorded Against All or Animal, and then we finished it in the third studio. So that one saw all 3 studios that we worked on. Saw practically every player that played on it, and not everybody's on every tune. Not every studio is in every tune. Shenanigans is the take from the day that we tracked drums. So like the drums and the guitar are the same, and that's I think the only song that was the case. Everything else evolved over time and just got better. So you never know. It's fun.
Yeah, it's funny too because the first album we did out in Turtle Creek was called Against All Odds, but hindsight's 2020 album, and we called it that because that year, or the year before Against All Odds was done, we had a lot of just bullshit happen. Guitars stolen, cars breaking down, this and that, And then Against All Odds, we get up and we win the Battle of Bands, which puts us in the studio, got us some money, got us some backing. Against All Odds, here we are. But it's probably, as an album, speaks for itself. Like this album is the Against All Odds because, it was, we almost started it pre-pandemic, so that whole shit fire there. Plus, then I did my part in May of 21, and the album wasn't released until last month. So that's just, a whole year, and it wasn't nonstop about the album. It's not like we were every day going in there and doing it, but damn, pretty much, right? Like
I felt like it went in waves. We'd take a break for a while, we're like, oh, I wonder what the world's going to do now. Like a lot of us, we were all sitting at home. Like we didn't know, like if we were going to be playing or when we were going to be playing shows again, if we were going to be playing shows again, what that was going to be like. And eventually those were the only people we really saw, like most people were working from home anyway. So that was like my way of getting out anyway. Like I would get to go to the studio and make noise. It was great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially when you're seeing the same people. And when the project went beyond like a year and stuff, I mean, we knew we're going to hit speed bumps, especially with like, studios being backlogged with like pre-scheduled stuff and then, people have other like jobs in the music industry and stuff, I mean, it happens. But I think what was very cool with this record, we were pretty patient with it for the most part. But we just kind of bared down, and just did it. And the cool part about this album is that we had the opportunity to exhaust all the possibilities on every song. I think by the time that last studio day was done, we were already fried out. We had pieces of papers everywhere of like scratch lyrics and making sure this was this and that. Tried this stanza, sat on it for a week and like, nah, we don't like it in that verse. Write a whole new one. Like we did all that, man. It was just unbelievable. But some of the best work on there so happened to be last minute work. Like, with Shenanigans, you see the guitar going, just like there's like a guitar solo in the background that's just like over the chorus and stuff. That was like such a last minute, practice it the night before. It's like, oh, dude, let me throw this in here. And it turned out to be awesome, just the way it just reacted to like the chord changes and stuff. And, it's just neat. Like sometimes things on the fly are some of the best work and stuff, but, just had to let it all see to it, man. But we knew we had a deadline, and so those last few weeks were pretty interesting.
I noticed that the more I listen to it, it just keeps on growing on you. The whole album, like I'll hear something new each time I listen to it.
Nice. Thank you. I like hearing that. You were talking about feedback earlier, and that's something that we've been getting. Is like they love the record, and it's like this is my third time spinning it and stuff, and it seems like we put enough songs on here that it's like full enough where it's worth enough to like, what? Oh man, just let it spin through again, and it's so cool. It's so cool because we do it ourselves, and just the way all the songs line up, it's like, this sounds great. It's, oh man, like the last song sounds great before the first song when it kicks off, That's neat.
What do you guys got planned for the rest of 2022?
We got one more final summer show that we booked up at it's gonna be Friday, August 26th. It's actually gonna be at Big Rail Brewing in Grove City, PA, and those guys, Sean and Bill up there, they're gonna be featuring a beer on our behalf, naming it Smiley Street Peach Sour Ale that they'll have fresh on tap on the day of the show, and we're gonna have an opening act for it, and so we're building up behind it. We just finished up Dutchtown down in Pittsburgh, so that was a really good time, and it was cool to get the word out and push the album Smiley Street. So this one's kind of more of like celebrating the album, and for the people that missed the show in Jurgles, they have an opportunity to come see us in Grove City and be able to have that concert experience as well. And then I think for the rest of the year, we might do another like winter show and stuff, and then we'll probably hunker down. And then like Adam, I know we talked about this, that we were probably going to try to go hard in the spring, once the weather gets warm, and we'll have more of like a solid schedule. This one was more of like we're getting that feeler again, where we're starting to see us play music every weekend, and this time we have our project PJ Rillo to do some of these gigs too. So they've been consistent this summer, which is nice. So as musicians, we've been very busy, and Wine and Spirit, we just got some big shows that are just neatly spread out, and we look forward to them because they've been like picking up a lot of steam as of late.
How can we get a hold of you guys? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
You can get a hold of my OnlyFans. I'm kidding. Yeah. You can actually go to our website too, wineandspiritband.com, or Wine and Spirit Band on Facebook or Instagram. We chit the chat on there as well.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Hey, Randy, thank you so much for having us. And folks that are listening, thank you guys for getting to know us a little bit more. Like I said, our new album, Smiley Street, is now available on at our shows and also on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Apple Music, anywhere you get your music from. It's available. Give it a spin. See what you guys think. Get a hold of us, man. We hope to see you at a show this year.
Having us, Randy.
Sold. Thanks, Randy.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Randy, so much for having us, man.